In tape number 3, Bob Hoskins discusses the difference between C-band and KU-band systems and shows us how to set up and adjust PaxCOMM for optimum performance, plus some troubleshooting tips.
When we were in the classroom a few minutes ago, we were talking about the differences between the C-band and the KU-band satellite receiver. Monica, you asked why your neighbor's dish was so much larger than this one. As you can see, this is probably closer to the size of the dish that's in your neighbor's backyard. Now this one is a C-band satellite system, but it also has provision for picking up KU-band like that. It's much more expensive than this also. This is an 11-foot spun aluminum dish, and it's what we call a center fed. If you look up there, you'll see that all the feed mechanisms are in the center of the dish, pointing right at straight in the center of the dish. This is a parabolic reflector, and all of the signal is bounced back into the center, and you'll notice that there's quite a difference between this feed and that one. Now this feed is towards the bottom of the dish, still aimed at the center of the dish, but it's at the bottom. And you'll notice that this one here is all the way around. You know, it's a circle, where this one's kind of ellipsoidal or elliptical. It's oblong, kind of like an egg. Okay, this is a spherical reflector, okay, and it has what we call an offset feed. And there's reasons for doing this. With a smaller dish, it allows them to be able to make the dish a little bit more efficient, because on this dish here, you'll notice, you know, there's an area in the center where there's about a 3-foot area in the whole center of that dish it's not active at all, where this design allows the whole dish to be active. So that's another reason that this dish can be so much smaller and still operate like that one. Now, one of the things that you may have heard, I don't know if you can hear my voice, but when I'm talking right here, you'll hear that my voice is different than when I'm talking out there. That's because when I step in here, we're actually in the focal point, and the sound is being reflected back. Okay, there again, we're talking about focal point where the signal is concentrated to a central point. Again, this one is primarily a C-band receiver for the much weaker signals, and this one is primarily KU-band for the stronger signals. And this one is more efficient as a reflector than this one, so we're able to get a very usable picture on a smaller dish. So that's what we have here for the comparisons. Monica, right under your arm is the actual heart of the system. This is the Earth Station receiver, and this allows us to control and tune in the stations. The signal is fed from the front end there that I showed you before, and it's fed into this, and it is processed and tuned. It takes the signals from the satellite, converts it to TV as we know it on Earth here, and then it turns around and broadcasts it out in channel 3 and goes through a cable and into the television set. And the television set here is tuned for channel 3, and we're able to pick up the stations on the satellite. One of the things that are interesting is that the tuner no longer, once you set it on channel 3 on the television set, the tuner no longer controls it. The tuner here controls it. So we have the dish that reflects the signal, the down converter processes the signal, brings it to a low enough channel that it can be processed by the Earth Station receiver. It's processed, converted to Earth type of television, and then it's displayed on the television or monitor. One of the things that you need to know about satellite television is that the television that we broadcast over the satellite, it's different than what we do on Earth, because we have one way of putting the signal, the picture signal on television here for regular land-based television. Well, for satellite, it's different. They put the picture onto the signal in a different way than they do here for our regular TV set. So we couldn't even put a regular TV connect a regular TV or monitor to the satellite receiver and get it unless the satellite receiver converts it to the type of signal that we use here. So again, reflector, antenna, down converter processes the signal, satellite receiver, and monitor. Okay, as you can see, we're not picking up a station here because we don't have the dish aimed right on the satellite. Now, in order to speed things up for this demonstration, we've already set the elevation, which is the tilt of the dish in respect to the satellite. Okay, however, we do need to set the azimuth, which is the relationship on a rotation like this in terms of hitting the satellite in relationship to the true south, in other words, the South Pole. And we're talking about the true South Pole, not the magnetic South Pole, because there's a difference. The magnetic lines of force change around the Earth, depending on where you're located. On the west coast in California, you have about a 16-degree variation. If you're in Texas, you have a 0-degree variation in a lot of locations. And then on the east coast, you may have a 5 or 6 degree variation in the opposite direction of what you may have on the west coast. At any rate, what we have to do is calibrate the compass so that it gives us a true reading instead of a magnetic reading. So there is one provided on the system right here, and you can turn the ring to the proper number of degrees in order to make them come out. So we've already done that here. And so now, because we have calibrated the compass to the proper setting, all we have to do is rotate the dish until we hit the proper reading here, and then we should be able to see a picture come in on our television set. Why don't you look and see? I've lined up the needle to where it should be. Would you look and see if we have a television picture over there now?
Yes, we do.
How about sound? Why don't you turn up the volume and see if we have sound? There it is. Okay, turn the volume down again. So you can see by lining up the needle here correctly and setting your elevation correctly, we're going to go ahead and get our picture that we're supposed to get. This is an indicator that lets us know what the elevation of the dish is. It may vary from system to system, but what it does is gives us an angle at which to use as a reference for setting the elevation so that we know that we're aimed at the satellite. To adjust the elevation on the dish, I take the strain off of the mount and I'm able to rotate the nut until I get the proper indication on the indicator. And as soon as I have the proper indication, I go ahead and rotate the nut until it gives me the optimum picture or the indication that I have on my information sheet, and then that should be correct for that particular satellite. We take a lot of steps to go through a method of aligning the dish in a precision way, but no matter what you do, you can only basically bring it into the ballpark, and you have to find the satellite and everything and then fine-tune it. The best way to do this is to use the scan feature on the receiver. You push the scan button in, and as you can see, we're seeing some flashes on the screen. And that lets us know that we are close to a satellite. By moving just very, very carefully, you can see if the lines are getting stronger or weaker. And when you get a fairly strong picture on the screen, then you can push the scan button in again. Oh, we were lucky, we hit a station there. And then the beauty of this system is that you can just kind of nudge it and get the best possible picture right in there. And you can make a slight elevation adjustment, whatever you need, to do what we call peaking the picture. and you go ahead and peek the picture and get the best possible picture, and then you have the type of picture that you need for the system. We can go ahead and tune from station to station now. Now remember that satellite systems are actually receiving every other channel, and then to go from, say, channel 10 to a channel 11, you flip the switch, but you also have to turn the front end or the down converter 90 degrees to pick up the other channel, because the way we do this is by polarizing the signals, and you will have some signals coming in with a vertical polarization to the antenna, and then the other channel, the next channel, will come in horizontally. So you have to turn your down converter in up there to change, say, from channel 10 to 11. So as you can see, we can get a picture here. We will get kind of a half a picture on the next one. Well, that's just because of bleed over, and if you have two stations that are on the air right next to each other, in order to go from 10 to 11, then you'll change the down converter. The setup seemed quite simple, but there are some tips in helping make it go smooth for you, and I'd like to discuss some of those now. First, make sure that the system is set on a relatively smooth, firm surface. If you're setting it on grass, it might be a good idea, if at all possible, to set down a sheet of plywood and set the system on top of the plywood, or something else in order to maintain the system being level. You want this pole here to be as close to perpendicular to the earth and the horizon as you can. Otherwise, it can make adjusting and tracking the satellites quite difficult. Also, make sure that all of the connectors in the back of the receiver are secured. A connector that is only half on can degrade the picture quality or the audio quality and give you some difficulties. So make sure that your connectors are securely fitted to the system. Also, on the back of this receiver is a cable that has to go from one terminal to the next. It seems to come from nowhere and go to nowhere, but that's in there for additional optional scrambling equipment. So be sure that you put this cable in the connector in the back, because if you leave it out, then you won't get any picture. Again, make sure that the connectors from the front end of the system to the receiver are securely set so that you get the proper operation. On the back of the receiver, there is a switch, and it has a position for normal and a position for inverted. The correct switch position for this is on the inverted position, so make sure that you have your invert video, normal video switch placed on the invert position. I know it seems backwards, but that's the correct way to have it. Make sure that the polarity on your L&B is optimized. If you're getting kind of a fuzzy or a lot of sparklies in your picture, rotate the L&B in order to get the maximum polarization effect so that you get the maximum picture on the front end. Also, in conjunction with that, adjust the fine tune. You might have to adjust the L&B polarity, then adjust the fine tune, go back and forth until you get zeroed in at the best possible picture. Also, most of the KU satellites broadcast their audio on the 6.8 megahertz audio band. So go ahead and push this button in. This button for your audio, one push locks it in, and then the second push will unlock it. So make sure that it's in, and that should suit your purposes for most audio. If the audio is either absent or kind of fuzzy, then you can go ahead and push it until the switch comes out, and then you can adjust or fine-tune the audio with this control right here. But in most cases, just pushing it in on the 6.8 will have it working correctly. Also, the television set should be set for channel 3. The unit is shipped with channel 3 being the station that it sends out on the cable. So make sure that your television set is set for channel 3. Also, make sure that you remember to adjust the volume on the television set, because it's kind of frustrating if you tune, you don't get any audio, and then find out that it's simply because you forgot to turn the volume up on the television set. If you follow all of these procedures, chances are you're going to have a lot of excellent viewing on the PaxCOMM system.
We hope that you are able to use PaxCOMM to its fullest capabilities. If, however, you do experience difficulties in tuning the system, please refer to the operation instructions located in the PaxCOMM manual. For further technical assistance, please contact your Paxton, Patterson, or Graves Humphreys regional office at one of the toll-free numbers listed here.